This is the JWN Podcast. This episode features a discussion with actress Sondra James. Sondra has had a very successful acting career. She's been working as a voice actress doing ADR work, which stands for audio dialogue replacement, in films and TV for over 35 years.
So I would put together a bunch of people, depending on the film, that would put voices to the people in the background.
After a near career-ending situation with a bad actor, and that's not meant to be a pun, it's just the truth, doors began opening for her to regularly appear on screen in feature films, short films, TV shows, and in web series. She's shared the screen with the biggest names in Hollywood.
Joaquin is very intense. So each take was completely different. I had no idea he was going to kiss me.
And her career continues to endure even in these difficult times with various jobs, such as doing hilarious sketches for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The podcast is going to start out in the middle of a bit of a political discussion, as I ask her about the political climate during the late 60s and how it compares to now. I wanted to keep this in so you can get a good understanding of her passionate worldview, as it does influence a lot of the discussion later on when we talk about her career. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that this episode wouldn't be possible without the help of Patrick Arnheim. He knew we'd have a fun conversation, and he brought us together, and it just means the world to me that I have friends out there who are trying to make this work, so thanks a lot, man. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Sondra James. During a time where I always kind of wondered what it was like to be alive during the late 60s, early 70s, with the political turmoil then, with the women's movement, the racism, the assassinations, so much stuff going on, and you kind of experienced that, and now you're experiencing this, and I kind of want to know what you felt about those two types of times in history.
Well, I was, of course, against the Vietnam War, and I was marching on Fifth Avenue one day with Women for something, and the cops were coming along, and they were hitting people with their billy clubs, and I, being the chicken that I was, I ducked into Bonwit Teller, which was a department store, which is also, sort of me. I found the whole thing horrifying. I also went back to college in 1959 to finish my degree. I had started my degree in 55, and I had a couple of kids. And no, actually, it was later than that. It was 60-something, because do you remember the, what was the name of this? Kent State.
Yes.
Yes. I went back to City College of New York to march against what they did at Kent State. And my husband at that time worked for a construction company that was working at the college, and a guy came, picked me up, and put me on a bus and sent me home, because again, they were cops with billy clubs hitting people. So I'm very small. I'm not even 5 feet tall, so I tried not to be amongst crowds for that reason. I get shunted around.
Yeah,
I do. But I tried marching as much as possible without endangering my body. But it was very frightening. Very frightening. And I'm glad my children were in between times, so we didn't have to worry about getting drafted and stuff like that. But during the Vietnam War, my brother, I was very nervous. We were worried about my brother, who he was 4F and finally was not involved. But my kids had to register for the draft because they were 18 at that time. And when they stopped the draft, but they used to have people register. but it was very, very frightening. Yeah, it's strange.
How do you feel that compares to the social unrest that's going on now?
It's different. It's different because I think people are more aware now. You see, the whole thing is the social media thing. That's the big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people, like what happened to Floyd, shook people. I mean, there it was, in your face, a guy getting murdered by a cop for no reason. And I think that people have become aware with all these, with people taking pictures of what's going on. And I think it's just like they painted Black Lives Matter on Fifth Avenue, which I hope they rename Obama Road, just because I'm a bitch.
I wouldn't say that would make you a bitch. That just makes you a human.
It would make me happy. I think that what Trump has done has given permission to people to behave in their worst way because of the kind of person he is. A racist. His father was a racist. His father was a Ku Klux Klan guy. He was arrested. His father. They had to pay a lot of money in restitution because they wouldn't rent to black people. I think that people are more aware now.
Yeah.
So, and they're friends with people of different colors, so, they don't like it.
I think people, just the internet and communications in general right now are so much better. It does make you kind of scratch your head how anyone is still subscribing to a backwards mentality, but we're finding that they're just getting into their own little echo chambers, even on any of the social media sites. They're just getting in their own groups, and so they're still hearing their outdated philosophies, or it's a little scary.
I think it's very scary. I think it's very frightening. What's going to happen if he loses?
Well, I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's going to try he's going to find some sort of loophole and try to stay.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. And he's got enablers. And those are the people that are even worse than him.
Oh, yeah. Bill Barr is scary.
Bill Barr is totally frightening. And Bill Barr's background. Bill Barr's father, by the way, a converted Jew, was the principal at the Dalton School, a very wealthy private school. And Bill Barr's father hired an unqualified Jeffrey Epstein to teach math in school.
Yeah.
I mean, these webs are interlaced, I must say. And I think Bill Barr is a bigger danger even than Trump.
Him and McConnell and what they're doing to the justice system in the background when no one's paying attention, all of these little publicity stunts that seem to be just smoke and mirrors while they're replacing all the judges that are going to affect us it'll affect my kids' kids,
Absolutely.
It's going to be
I don't know. How old is your daughter?
She's 20.
Okay. Now, they just, by the way, Ruth Ginsburg was taken to the hospital again today.
I just saw that right before you called, but it seems like I hope she's going to be okay.
We pray for this woman because those people on the Supreme Court, I'm praying for even John Roberts. I'm hoping that he's, as we say, a mensch. But those Alito and Clarence Thomas is a horrible human being, as is his wife. He shouldn't be on the court. He should be out. It doesn't matter. I mean, the Supreme Court is no longer supreme. The Justice Department is no longer a Justice Department. And Bill Barr is a horrible a person. If you want to see something interesting, look at a Netflix documentary on Roy Cohn.
Roy Cohn.
Yes. Okay. Roy Cohn was Trump's lawyer. Roy Cohn, when he was in his early 20s, sat at the McCarthy Army hearings in the 50s to root out, you should pardon the expression, the communists in the government and in the army. I mean, it was a ridiculous thing.
Wow.
And he was and he was gay, which was a big secret. In fact, when he was dying of AIDS, Trump dropped him like a rock.
No.
But Roy Cohn formed a lot of the behavior that we see now in Trump.
Wow.
Watch that documentary. It's scary. Well, I'm a big Yankee fan, and Steinbrenner was Roy Cohen's client also.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he was a terrible man.
So,
oh, yeah, sorry.
No, I want to kind of talk a little bit about your career and creativity and how that has helped you in your life. Because as from the research that I've done, it seems that you started getting into professional work after your kids had grown. So you waited a while to get into this business, and your career is just nonstop. It's kind of a rocket ship. And
lucky.
Yeah. Well, you've been you started your own business based on an opportunity that you saw in doing what's called looping or ADR work. Yeah. So if you could briefly explain to people what that is, because it's really interesting to me, because I know guys that did Foley work and things similar to that, but this is really kind of cool what you've kind of carved out a niche.
It's great. Yeah. Well, I didn't carve it. It was already there. I just took it to another level. I met a woman named Harriet who was an ADR editor. Now, I had no idea what that was. And for 3 years, I helped her put together group of people to do background voices. For example, if you go into a restaurant, the two principals are sitting there and talking, and they're making millions of dollars. And in the background, people are eating, but they're also talking. But when they're hired, all they do is mouth things, and you don't hear them because they're just extras. Mm-hmm. So I would put together a bunch of people, depending on the film, that would put voices to the people in the background. There was one thing we did with, there was a movie called Barney Fink, I think. It was a Coen Brothers movie. And I was doing a loop myself, and the Coen Brothers were there. And there was a woman sitting right behind the principals, and she was looking at a menu. And I just went on a rant about tuna fish. It's all improvisational, and it's fun. It's great fun.
So,
and unfortunately, my voice is so specific that I can't do a lot of it. So,
but apparently, that specific voice and your demeanor is kind of working out for you. It would seem.
Yeah.
Some of the roles that you have played. You were in a Woody Allen miniseries on Amazon, Crisis in 6 Scenes.
Right.
And of course, the stuff you've been doing with The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, but you're on that FX series, What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire show.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I never heard of it until I got booked.
Well, were you familiar with Carl Plankton before you started? Because now you're like part of the cast, a regular on Sick of It, which is an English show.
Yeah. Yeah, we did two seasons.
Yeah, and I think it's
I never heard
brilliant.
of Carl.
Oh.
I never heard of Carl before that.
Yeah, because Idiot Abroad was Ricky Gervais's his show. It was like a radio / podcast show, and it kind of turned Carl into like an English star. And
yes, and not only that, there were people here who just love him. I mean, I had never heard of him. I had never seen an Idiot Abroad, which I went to. What happened was he and a guy named Richard Yee, they have a company called You and Me Productions, and they found me on the internet. I have no idea how, where, what, and they came to the States for 2 or 3 days to meet me. And I said to them, why would you want me to do that when you've got these brilliant British actors? I said, well, we don't want that, because we don't want people looking at them and saying, oh, there's Diana Findlay or Marsha Wallace. They want somebody completely different, whom nobody knows, because it's all about Carl. I said, okay, so people are going to tune in and they're going to say, oh, there's Carl, and who the hell is that? And that's me. I'm who the hell is that? Carl is one of the most wonderful people I've ever worked with. I mean, it was a tremendous. I just got so fortunate to get to work over there for 6 weeks at a time or 5 weeks at a time. It was great.
That sounds like a blast. It's funny because it's one of those things that, like, yeah, the media landscape is so saturated, for lack of a better term, that there could be hit shows that millions of people love, and you never heard of. You're like, wait, what?
Well, if you look on YouTube, some of Sick of It is on YouTube, but they haven't sold the 2 seasons here yet. I mean, I'm in regular contact with Carl, and he doesn't know if it's going to be sold. You know, I hope it is, and it goes to like Acorn or BBC or something.
Yeah, I think BBC America would be.
Yeah, I'm a big British fan of British mysteries, and there's a guy named Anthony Horowitz who writes books. He's just wonderful. In fact, there's a series of books for young adults, and he wrote. I don't know if you ever heard of a show called Foyle's War. Also on the BBC. No, it was on PBS. It's about a policeman during World War II in Britain. So, he's just wonderful. And I never got to meet him. It's my next project. But working in England was just great. Even the food wasn't so bad.
That's just fantastic.
Although the catering the catering was awful, horrible.
So
they treated me very well. What?
Oh no, I was going to say you've spent most of your career doing the voice work, but you have done stage work as well, right?
I did
a little bit.
A play. I did a couple of shows. I never made it to Broadway. I was on tour with Valerie Harper. Charles Bush's The Tale of the Allergist's Wife. I was on tour for almost a year.
Wow.
That was great fun.
And then you did you've done a lot of not cameo, but like smaller parts, walk-on roles.
Absolutely.
Ray Donovan is another show you were on an episode of that, right?
I did, yeah.
And then somehow you found yourself sitting on a stage with Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro.
Yes.
Obviously, people are paying attention to you, and it's paying off because the whole world has seen you whether they know it or not. And they've heard you because it wasn't just like a background character. You spoke. You were on the
Yeah.
you're on the couch sitting there with
Yes.
with all of them. And what was that like filming that scene? That scene is it gives you chills every time you watch it. But I mean,
well, you see, I'm basically I don't get it. I didn't get it. I was sitting next to De Niro, whom I just loved. We had the best conversations because we're the same age and we grew up in the same neighborhood. So we talked about our movie theater and where we went for food and stuff that. So it was great. The director, Todd Phillips, is a guy from Brooklyn. He's just great, and he would join us in the conversations while Joaquin was doing his thing. Joaquin is very intense. Mm-hmm. So each take was completely different. I had no idea he was going to kiss me. None. He walked out, and my job, the director said, was to stand up and hold out my hand to shake his hand. And then he kissed me. So each time my reaction was natural, the way, there were times, there were takes when he would come in and walk right by me. And I was standing there with my hand out. It was very intense.
So a lot of that was improvised, huh?
All of it, yes.
Holy cow.
Because he said to me at one point, they had some smoke in the room, and I coughed, and I screwed up a take. And I said to Joaquin, I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And he said to me, in character, true story, "If you do it again, I'll strangle you." I said, "Okay." And about 20 minutes later, he came over and apologized to me. And I said, no, I was hardly frightened. But it was very interesting. It was a week. I mean, it was a big budget movie, so everything was done very well. I had a dressing room and cars and the whole thing. And it was just great.
Man,
it was a great experience. The director was great. Yeah.
And you've got movies that are in the works to come out this year that have wrapped up in production as well, right?
Yeah. The Climb. I finally saw that one. There's something called Shiva Baby.
Okay.
And Antarctica.
Antarctica. Is that that sounds like is that a?
I have no.
You have no idea what it is? That's the beauty of acting,
I have no idea what it's about. Well, when I get involved, sometimes I get involved because I enjoy it. I enjoyed putting the loop groups together. I love improv. So there were things I like better than other things.
Yeah.
And I like auditioning. I have great fun. A lot of times now, because I went from being what I thought was a hot, sexy woman to being adorable. So I have people say, "Oh, she's so adorable." And I'm thinking, yeah, that's what I wanted my whole life. I wanted to be adorable. But it, whatever works. So, I enjoy working. I love doing the Colbert Show. I'm a big fan of his, regardless.
Right.
And this was lucky. I mean, I was lucky, and
Stephen's from here, in Charleston. He grew up here.
I know.
It's a crazy situation, and his so down here it's not pronounced Colbert. It's Colbert.
It's Colbert.
Yeah. So his sister, I believe, was running for office. Unfortunately, she didn't win, but
she didn't win. Yeah. but she was running for office. And his father and two of his brothers, he's one of 11 kids, and two of his brothers died in a plane crash.
Yeah, it's tragic.
Yeah, his father was a doctor. He's very smart. And the guy who works for him, who does the cold opens, is a guy named Paul Danello. And in fact, Paul Danello, Stephen Colbert, and Amy Sedaris were like at Second City and did improv on tour. And I worked on the Amy Sedaris show because of Paul Danello.
Wow.
So it becomes it becomes who you know kind of thing. Or when you work for people and they like working with you and you just do your thing, they hire you over and over again. And I'm a schmoozer, so I keep in touch with everybody.
Well, it
Really?
sounds when I was so we have a mutual friend who's Patrick Arnheim, and
Yep.
when he first talked about you, he said this woman is responsible for so many people's careers, and she probably doesn't know it, but she keeps a lot of people working. And so you're definitely someone who's been paying into that kind of system of who you know, because you've been helping people, and now all along you've been getting helped as well. But how did you get into acting in the first place?
Well, this is a really ridiculous story. When I was 5 years old, we used to go to the movies, and we used to see double features, and there was a movie, I'll never forget it. There was a movie called, I'll never forget it, except my mind. That's why I don't do stage anymore. I can't remember all these things. There's something, Unfinished Dance, and there was an actress in that called Margaret O'Brien. I guess she was maybe now a little older than me. I don't even know if she's alive. But I just wanted to be her. She was a dancer, and I'm a terrible dancer. But I decided that's what I wanted to do. And then when I also saw, my aunt took me to the theater when I was 5 or 6 years old, and I saw Ethel Merman.
Wow.
And I wanted to sing and tap dance. And, of course, I was terrible at both of those things. And I never knew I was funny. And apparently I'm funny.
Well,
and I never knew that. I really...
That's a trait that people who are funny, they're because it's not because they're trying to be funny. It's because they're insightful and they see the humor in the world. And just from the first half an hour of us talking, I could see that you got the finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world. So you're paying attention. So it makes you naturally able to see the backside of reality, so to speak. You can see the underside and kind of poke fun at it, and that makes people naturally funny, in my opinion.
Well, I think so, because I found out when I was really quite a bit older that I was funny. I mean, when I went in, I remember auditioning for Woody Allen, who has always been somebody I loved, his humor. And by the way, I don't believe any of those rumors. But I went in and I read for him, and I was trying to be very serious. And it didn't work. But, he hired me regardless, because the woman, the casting director, said to everybody out there, she says, well, you go in there, please don't try to make jokes. Don't try to be funny. And, of course, once you do that, you lose. But, I'm I'm thrilled. I don't know if you saw that Colbert thing where I play Alan Dershowitz's masseuse.
No, but now I'm going to definitely search for it.
Yeah, Shirley. I think it's on my Instagram page too, Shirley. And I mean, it was just hilarious. I had no idea. And it's also the writing.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's a very funny guy, and Stephen is a funny guy. So the writing also helps. And Charles Bush, who wrote The Tale of the Analogist's Wife, is funny. I mean, it wasn't so much a comedy, but I don't know. I've been lucky.
Well, but you started, you had a passion early on. You recognized that.
Yes.
But you went on, you got married, you did the things people do in New York. You got married, you had kids.
I had 2 kids by the time I was 20.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, but see, then you got to move on earlier.
Well, that was it. I mean, the first one was quite an accident, and then I figured, well, I might as well. But then I went back to college and finished my degree. And I have a degree in anthropology.
Wow.
I loved it. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Lower East Side. Where are you from in New York?
Don't laugh, Long Island. I grew up in
I'm
Long
not going to
Island.
laugh.
I grew up in
I'm
Williston
sorry.
Park. You want to know where I grew up?
Listen.
Okay, I'll tell you exactly where Williston Park is. Did you watch The Irishman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The scenes where they're in the Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
I lived right behind that restaurant. That was in Williston Park. That was on Willis Avenue. That's Gino's Pizzeria that they turned into an Italian restaurant. I grew up eating that pizza my whole life up until I moved here. But yeah, that's where Williston Park is. So that's what Williston Park looks like.
Well, I grew up on the Lower East Side of New York.
Wow.
I'm first-generation American, and I loved it down there. I still love it down there.
The Lower East Side is where I used to hang out when I was a teenager. And I'd go to there, go to CBGB's, St. Mark's Place.
I was on 4th Street and Avenue A.
Oh, yeah. We used to go. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, my kids are all grown up. They live in California. They're, I don't know who they are anymore, but, they're Californians.
So
boring.
So you got into the ADR work
by accident.
Yeah, and so you started doing that work, and then you started doing other acting work as well.
I did it for 35 years. The ADR.
Wow.
And what's really wonderful about it is that you get residuals. So
getting paid for 30-year-old work. That's amazing.
That's right. I worked on Sex and the City for 6 years. I did all the background work, voices on that, Damages, what else? Boardwalk Empire, and Nurse Jackie.
Oh yeah.
And I did the background voices and all those, and it paid a lot of money. I mean, I didn't make a lot of money, but I was making continual money, and the residuals still come in.
And they start to compound on each other, right? So that
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're a nickel and a penny and stuff, but I've done over 500 movies. I mean, lots and lots of stuff.
Was there
some of which I get a residual I never even heard. I don't even remember the name of these things.
So was there ever a time during this where you didn't want to do it anymore? Was there ever like I'm sick of this type of thing, or have you been kind of gung-ho?
No, I really enjoyed it. First of all, it was challenging. Each movie had a different characteristic, and time setting and the characters in them and the people in the background were of different types. So I had, and languages, what happened with the business, I would have still been doing it, but years ago I took in a young guy and made him a lot of money, and became a friend, and he ate at my house. He called me his other mother. On Mother's Day, he sent me an orchid. I went to his wedding. He was at my son's house for dinner. And slowly but surely, he took it away from me. He really screwed me. He would tell people that I wasn't doing it anymore. He would say, listen, why don't I take a meeting? Anyway, he and his wife are very duplicitous people. And he really screwed me. In fact, he knew he was doing it because he offered me, he was going to give me 5% or 10% of his money. And I said, he was not a nice person. And karma set in. They have no children, so that's my karma.
How did you overcome all of that?
I was very, very hurt because I considered him like a son, and then I realized, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to do something else. So I started getting acting work. Actually, what happened was I did a movie called, oh God, I have no idea. I was on camera in a movie. And it was about, I don't even remember what it was about. Anyway, I went to the wrap party, and there was a woman there, Carolyn Anthony, whom I had known from acting class years before that. And she said to me, who's representing you? And I said, well, nobody really, because I just didn't fit into any kind of category. So she said, well, let me do it. And I haven't stopped working.
So that person tried to take away your livelihood, but instead
he took away my livelihood.
But he opened a door. But he didn't. You opened a door because of that, though, or a door was opened because of that. So
because of that, yes. I mean,
so
I could
look
have done
who's
both.
laughing now.
You know what? That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what happened.
That's amazing.
Yes, he took away a very, very good business I had. And by the way, you find out who your friends are, really. Yeah. People I knew for 20 years all of a sudden didn't talk to me. So that's always interesting. And, show business is funny because you make money and you watch your ass. You don't want to offend anybody. So people that I worked with, and where he went and spread rumors like, oh, she's so old, she's not doing this anymore, they dropped me and went with him.
Wow.
And of course he used all the people that I had trained.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He knew all of them. He went after all of them.
Oh, so he took your talent and your connections and basically the foundation you had built, he took it and just ripped it out from underneath you.
Absolutely. But you know what? He made enemies, too.
But he couldn't take away the fact that you had made an impression on people in the world that have brought you into into actual acting on screen more.
Yes. True. In fact, I did 2 movies on camera and the loop group. One with Ang Lee. Something about it's called Taking Woodstock. And And then the other one is the Shiver Baby, which I just did. I did a loop group for them too.
That's awesome.
Because I knew people, and I knew people how to do it. So, yeah, I lost my big income, continuous income, but it's okay. You know, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right?
Oh yeah. Well, again, would the person who, say, in the 80s or 90s that was doing these, the ADR work, have ever envisioned that you'd be sharing a stage with, or sharing a screen with 2 Oscar winners?
No.
Exactly. Like you're doing awesome as far as, I can only imagine the amount of people that are out there that will start to see you again and realize, wait, she's still doing this.
Well, it's happened. I
Yeah.
mean, it's even now. I live in. Do you know Manhattan Plaza?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I live in Manhattan Plaza. I moved. I used to live in Riverdale with the kids and everybody. My husband died, so I'm here in Manhattan Plaza, which I love. I'm at 43rd Street and 10th Avenue. I mean, it's like heaven.
Yeah.
And people, will come over to me and say, "So how was the kiss?" And I say, "Well, I've had worse and I've had better." But it's
there's a lot of makeup in that kiss.
Oh my God! Every time he kissed me, they had to redo my makeup and his. So, I mean, he was really lovely. I mean, he's a little nuts, but it's okay. He's allowed, and yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it was going to be such a big thing. I really didn't. So. Well, it's okay,
Well, throughout all this that you've done so far, how do you think that there's something that has brought you happiness that other people might not understand, that haven't done what you've done? Something you've learned that's brought you happiness through this creative journey of yours?
Well, I think. I'm happy, thrilled that I'm doing it. I'm really thrilled that people want me and that I don't even audition and people just call and give me work, which is great. In a way, I feel a little sad. And because... Well, one reason is that I can't. I don't think I could ever go on the stage again. Memorizing has become a little more difficult, really difficult. I used to be able to memorize everything very quickly, but it doesn't work anymore. And I think that had I known how to do it, which is keep in touch with people and be in the right place at the right time. Had I done it when I was a little younger, maybe it wouldn't have worked. I don't know, but I feel sad because I think that the time is limited. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying. You're feeling like, regardless of what you're doing now, you wish you could have been doing this earlier if you knew how to play the cards then. Is that
exactly?
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe there's. I'm not an overly religious person, but maybe there is a reason for the timing.
I agree, and I feel that way. I actually do feel exactly that way. I'm not an overly religious person either, but I do believe in kismet or whatever you call it, karma. I think that the timing was right. I mean, here was I getting screwed over by this piece of crap kid whose background should have warned me when people were warning me, watch your back. I didn't do that. So, because I'm not a devious person and I don't think like that. So, I think that maybe the timing would never have worked. I don't know. I mean, as I said, now I go out and somebody, oh, she's so adorable. That's because I'm 5 feet tall on a good day, and sort of round, So and elderly, so they think, oh, isn't she cute? Which I play to the max, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I take advantage of that. Yes.
But in your mind, you still feel like that 20-year-old girl.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. Exactly.
It's
and when I was 25 or 40 or maybe it wouldn't have worked,
Do you think that spirit, though, that young spirit that you have in you, is part of why you're finding a certain level of success now on screen? Because you might, the outward appearance might be, it's kind of like Betty White. She's so unassuming. You don't assume this person, and she's in her 90s now, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, like 98 or something. I mean, she's really up there.
Yeah, but she's still got that young spirit. Everybody loves her no matter what age group they're in, because it's an unexpected thing to have somebody with that spirit of, she still kind of comes across like a 20-year-old.
Yes, because she has joy. She enjoys life and what she does, and people. I met her once. I was in L.A. Doing a show, and she came backstage and went to the party or something, and in fact, I have a picture with her somewhere, but it was very nice to meet her. She had a very warm demeanor, and I think I think it's great. I feel very fortunate. I don't take anything for granted.
Well, I know that I know just from our friend Patrick, the way he speaks of you, it's with the utmost love and respect. And just from talking to you, I can understand why. And the beginning of our conversation, the passion you have for something you believe in, you're full of all of that energy, because you've got your finger on the pulse. You know what's going on. You're seeing it from all sides, or from all directions, I should say, not from all sides.
No, one side.
But you're looking into all the different facets of it, and you have a good understanding of that. But that's that carries on with anything you're doing, and the passion that you have, and that's where your youth comes in.
You know how I met Patrick? His manager at the time is this Carolyn Anthony I'm talking about.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she sounds like she knows talent when she sees it.
Well, I don't know. She's also crazy, but it doesn't matter.
I saw Patrick do The Elephant Man, and I had never seen it on a stage before, and I had no idea how gripping that character could be. No makeup, no costume. He was just wearing.
Yeah.
He had no shirt and just some pants on, but he manipulated his body, and the way he carried himself made you believe that he was this deformed.
Where did he do this?
This was in Charleston, at a small theater in Charleston. He started doing theater work while he's been down here, and
what is he doing down there?
Well, he's a yoga teacher. That's exactly how I met him, is at a yoga studio. He teaches yoga. He was doing personal training, and then he started doing yoga teaching, and then he got involved. He didn't stop acting, but he just kind of shifted, and he got together with this local theater group, this theater company, and every play I go to see that he's in is just, it's amazing. It's a wonderful thing, and it's one of those things that right now I'm so sad doesn't exist, like live theater.
I know.
It's to think of how long it's going to be, and the how these things, they could barely survive as it was. It was all donations and whatnot, and you think around the whole world, that's an art form that has to be experienced live.
Absolutely. I feel that way. I actually, there's a woman called Marianne Elliott. She's a director, and she formed a company. I think she's a brilliant director. She directed, she directed, the last thing on Broadway was, oh God. See what I told you about my memory? Just terrible. Nathan Lane won the Tony for it. It was, about the gay thing Larry Kramer wrote. And I'll think of it probably at 2 a.m, so if I call you back, don't be upset. I'm kidding. Anyway, she's wonderful, and she formed a company called Elliott Harper Productions, or Harper Elliott Productions. And I invested in that company. Not a lot of money, but I invested. And she did company in London. I was there, and I went to opening night and everything. And it was brilliant. I'm not a big Stephen Sondheim fan, but I just loved it. It was wonderful. So they came here, and they were supposed to open March 15th, which was Stephen Sondheim's 90th birthday. So needless to say, I'm out $10,000. And, yeah.
I guess you have to look at that as a donation at that point.
Yes,
You can write it off on your taxes.
It's a charitable donation, yes. Oh, my God. So, anyway, that's, shit happens.
Well, it's
terrible.
I've been trying to find moments of hope. And
me too.
Like I said before, there's something about what Colbert is doing with his show right now that I hope he keeps certain aspects of that alive. Like the longer form interviews that he's been doing are so much better than the 2-3 minute, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that whole...
I do.
It's a lot more... He's talking to people a lot more naturally, and they're not even in front of him.
It's because there's no audience there, so there's no interruption.
Yeah. It's a different show, and I hope there's some aspect of that can go on. Maybe he'll just go on and do a different show beside the one he's doing now, maybe a weekly interview show or something like that, because...
He misses the audience a lot.
I can imagine that feedback is hard to not have. But I do see that there's things like that, though, that there's musicians that are doing things that are very creative to try to overcome the fact that they can't perform live. I don't know what the creative landscape is going to look like next year, because right now we're getting all the stuff that was produced in late 2019 and early 2020 that's coming out.
Yeah.
And that well's going to run dry. Like, Netflix is really going to start, like, looking weird in about 6 or 7 months.
Well, I'm a big fan of British mysteries. So I have Acorn TV. I've just started watching old Agatha Christie stuff. I love it. So, but it is, yes, the whale is drying up.
Yeah.
And there's no stuff coming up.
But I wonder, I wonder who's going to come
yeah.
up with the next thing that's going to be born out of a necessity to come up with something.
Well, they are doing it. I had a friend who was down actually in Charleston shooting a commercial. I had a friend self-tape an audition for something that's going to start shooting in September. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I don't know, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting...
I haven't had anything.
You haven't had anything coming up?
Well, I had shot a web series called Richie Needs a Wife. And we shot the last episode on Zoom.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's kind of odd because you're interacting with somebody on a screen. It's a different feeling, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll work. I don't know.
You remember when the Blair Witch Project came out? That movie with the...
I worked on the second one, yeah.
So that first one, though, there was nothing else out there like that. And then next thing you know, it becomes a whole genre of the found footage. But that's that's kind of what I'm hoping. Something, maybe somebody will figure out the Zoom sitcom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yes. Well, I'll tell you what else is happening. I just have some friends who were hired last week to do some ADR work. Not in the studio, but from their home.
I believe the equipment's out there.
Exactly. He said, well, he's got his own, a lot of my friends are setting up little studios. I just go in the bathroom and close the door. There's a system where it's hard to improvise with somebody who's not there, but apparently it worked.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what comes out of it. Of course, there'll be growing pains.
Definitely.
But hopefully, maybe it'll come out with a whole, maybe there'll be a whole new art form. I think audio type of things, which you're an expert in, as far as voice acting and making sounds and creating environments. I think that there is something to be said. There's all of these podcasts that do end up becoming shows. I just finished watching Homecoming, which was based off of a podcast series that somebody wrote. And,
wow.
And then it became Julia Roberts was the star of it. It's you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's hope that somebody will figure this out and make it work out of this tragedy. And that's where I'm trying to find the hope. Have you found any other pieces of hope in your life, of things you've seen that you never thought you'd see before?
Well, my friend Ray, I have a friend named Ray Yannicelli, and we started working back in 1996. So I met him in Cleveland. We were doing a play in Cleveland. And we just hit it off, and we've been friends. In fact, my birthday is next week, so we're going to his house on Saturday. And he's very funny. And we thought of doing a podcast. He yells at me not to write these things down, but some of them are very funny. Getting older. Now, he's 3 years younger than I am, but there were things that are funny getting older. Yeah. And we were going to do a podcast like that. And we're still talking about it, but, we're both lazy.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's one of those things. You have the skills.
Yes, and so does he, and I don't think there is one like that. Of two old people just sitting and talking to each other. It's pretty funny.
It definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there things that happen when you get older. As a woman, for example, uh, there are more hairs growing on my face than there are on my legs now. Uh, it just happens. Your body changes, your taste changes. It's actually, unless you want to kill yourself, it could be quite funny.
Yeah,
And then you can kill yourself.
well, I imagine. I mean, the things that men go through are definitely not as drastic. We like lose our hair,
Well,
but that starts early on, you know. But
I know. I've got two sons in their 60s. I understand.
but it's not comparable to a
It's just
hormonal shift that will change your complete personality if you let it.
That's right. But men do go through something similar, and it can be pretty funny too. I see it with my kids.
Oh yeah,
You know.
I always laugh to my wife. I'm like, I wish, somewhere around mid 30s to early 40s, the testosterone starts to level off.
Yeah.
And you become a lot less hot-headed. You can think clearer. And I'm like, man, they keep pushing all this like male testosterone replacement and Viagra, and I'm like, they need to come up with like an estrogen style pill for men when they're in school so they can concentrate and not and not just be worrying
Right.
about getting off.
Getting laid every minute. Yes.
Yeah. It's
I remember
distracting.
that.
It's very distracting, and it's upsetting when you realize when the testosterone starts to taper down.
Wane.
Yes,
Yeah.
when it starts to wane, you realize how much of life you've missed because you were trying to get laid.
Oh, but it's the same thing with women. I mean, we're always looking for a guy. I'm dealing with my granddaughter whose boyfriend just broke up with her. So I sent her a bunch of chocolate. And we talk all the time. And it's the same thing. Where am I going to find I said, well, don't look. It'll happen or it won't. But yeah, I mean, we spend our time looking for mates.
Yeah.
I think it's a biological thing.
It's definitely the struggle. A lot of my friends that are single here and that are either divorced or just they're in their 40s and they have
20-year-old.
Well, the ladies are looking at 20-year-olds too, and
Really?
Oh, yeah. A lot of my friends down here are single women that are. They could probably write a good series about what it's like to live in the South trying to date. Imagine being someone a little bit more of the liberal mindset trying to date men in the South. Yeah, that would be that's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, and I have male friends who are, I certainly don't want or need to date anymore. Been there, done that. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to stand it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely not. I'd walk out.
I'm happy. I'm happily married at this point because if I had to do online dating, I think I'd crack.
Oh my God, I have never tried that.
I'm so glad that it wasn't a thing when I met my wife. That we got married before that was a thing because
yeah. My granddaughter, she's one of them is 27. I was just talking to her. We were talking about having babies today. The other one is 32, and he just broke up with her. And neither of them were online stuff. And I don't think either of them ever did any online dating. And my grandson, who's 26, he's got a girlfriend. He's 6'2", she's 5'11". They're both very large people.
Wow.
And they weren't online either. Oh, like I would never do that.
Yeah, it seems impossible to me, but
It's a little scary, I think.
One time I was sitting in a bar with one of my friends, and I asked him, I'm like, let me look at your dating app. I just want to see what it looks like when you do this. And the strangeness and the decisions that you make, you look at somebody's picture and you find yourself becoming a really awful person because you're making a judgment based on whatever picture they're showing you. And then you're making an instant decision. You swipe one way if you like the picture. You swipe another way if you don't like the picture. That is not a way to meet people.
No, but then how do you meet people?
Yeah, it's well, especially now. Now it's I don't know what you would do.
Well, my friend Rich is he works for a company, and they do podcasts actually, and he met his current girlfriend. They just moved in together. She did some bookkeeping for the company, but he had done some online dating, and he met some pretty interesting women. He's 40. I don't know, 46. I think something like that.
Yeah.
It's quite attractive, and I don't know. I couldn't do it. He's the one who fixes me, does all my IT stuff here.
See? The IT people, they have an in, by the way.
Oh, listen, I use people whenever I can. For things like putting my microphone together. He bought me this thing for my iPad. I don't even bother with my computer. I use my iPad for everything. But he bought me a, what do you call it? Tripod. A holder. Mm-hmm. Ow. And it's so he's got a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And it's setting me up. When we do Richie Needs a Wife, he's the Richie. He directed and wrote it.
Wow. Well, that's excellent. Yeah, I mean, having that technical knowledge, back when I worked at MTV Networks, it put you in front of everybody. It put you in front of the talent. It put you in front of the producers, everybody.
Did you know a girl whose last name was Saster? She also worked for MTV. Saster.
I would have been terrible about remembering a lot of people's names because there were so many people, and especially on the production side, they would come and go.
Yeah.
They would come and go so much that there were certain people, like management people, you would know because they were kind of always there. But then producers would come project by project, or it was tough to get to know anyone.
Yeah, she was one of the producers. Yeah.
But the people that you would get to know would be the back end people, the audio guys, the makeup artists, those type of people, because they just kind of stayed there. They were always there. Well, I want to thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation.
It certainly has.
I'm so excited for what we'll see from you in the future.
Well, thank you. Let's hope.
Yes, let's hope there is a planet. Let's hope that there is a planet.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know if when I do another Colbert. If I do another Colbert, I'm sure I will. But
Oh yeah. Well, I can't wait to look up for that the masseuse one. I watched. I've seen the one where you're doing the restaurant.
And to hold the meetings.
Yeah, to hold the yes.
Yeah.
Was it for like a Republican convention or something like that?
Yes, yeah. Well, there are ones before that, but also This one with the masseuse is pretty funny, but it's on my Instagram page.
I will check that out. I'll put a link to that, and I will point everyone towards your page at James Sondra, Sondra.
It's my real name. Jack Sessions lost.
Oh. See, this is what happens when you pick up a device. You get all the information thrown right at you, and it's
right at you. Right.
It's definitely. I hate picking up my phone when I'm in the middle of something, because then I'll see a text or an email or a news article, and I'm like immediately pulled out of wherever my head is.
All right, Joseph. It was a pleasure.
I've had such a wonderful time talking to you, and thank you so much for doing this. And again,
it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.